I was in New England the other day, visiting with a medical company that has had 3 breakthrough medicines and working on its 4th. And their CEO said, look, this new tax code has changed everything. Our research won't be done in London. It'll be done in the United States. Our patents won't be located in Ireland. They'll be here in America. And if we can find the workers, the advanced manufacturing of our products will be done here in New England. We're seeing this all throughout the country. So there's new hope and there's new opportunity. And we're going to continue, as the speaker said, to get better every year. You know, we are changing the culture in Washington, where Congress waits 30 years in between improving the tax code while our global competitors continue to distance themselves. Those days are over. America is going to stay in the lead pack. Every year we will work to make America more competitive, more innovative, and make sure our tax code is more family friendly every year. So there's only one party looking out for the pocketbooks and the hopes and the paychecks of middle class America, and that's the Republican Party, period. Thank you.
This is a new era, Mr. Chairman, and the pro-growth policies that have been put in place by this Congress and the Republicans that have led it have helped support local businesses across the nation. We certainly are feeling that everywhere. And specifically, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act has helped to lift the excessive burdens on business and promote job growth by providing more economic opportunity for more people. And that leads to economic mobility so that people can move up the ladder. And that's part of the American dream. I've got a prime example for you, just one this morning, of the bill's success in my district. I want to tell you about the Canal Coffee Shops. It's owned and operated by Bossier City, Louisiana native Roderick James. Starting in 2016, Mr. James and his partner Priscilla Mayfield opened their anchor store in downtown Kinder, Louisiana, small town Louisiana. Remarkably, he built his business from the ground up and never took a loan. He went out and was a risk taker, an entrepreneur, and it worked. And he expanded his business to include shops in Oberlin, Louisiana, and Shreveport, which is our largest metro area in the district. And now, with the implementation of our tax reform and our pro-growth, pro-business policies, Mr. James tells me he plans to open a 4th and now a 5th location in the very near future. This is a great success story, and this is the kind of thing we're seeing all around the country. Our nation is full of small business owners like Roderick. They work long hours, they put in the hard work, they give their all to achieve their own version of the American dream, and it's working again. This Congress has delivered a fairer, simpler tax code, and that has allowed small business owners just like Roderick to keep more of their hard-earned dollars and reinvest those in their employees and their business and their community. I completed my 28th town hall just last week when we were home for a day, and I can tell you that everyone from all walks of life and all across this country are feeling the effect of this. They're feeling and tasting the success, and they want us to do more of it. So we're proud and honored to be a part of that. Thank you.
Well, this is another exciting and busy week here in Congress as we continue to address the various problems that we're facing throughout our country. And we started where we left off last week, and that is addressing this opioid crisis that's plaguing our nation. There are a number of bills that we're going to be packaging together this week that confront this problem in many different ways. It allows the federal government to be more effective and efficient at addressing this crisis, as well as helping local communities where this problem really has hit every single part of our nation. Then we move on to looking at this great success we've had, the great work that Chairman Brady and his committee did at putting together a Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that is working for this American economy. Rebuilding the middle class, that's something President Trump set out to do from the very beginning. He said not only do we want to cut taxes to make our country competitive again, which we had lost our competitive edge as Americans, but he also wanted to make sure that people that wanted to get a chance to have the American dream, to be able to get real opportunity, would be able to succeed as well. And all of that is working better than expected, and I do agree that more is going to come from this. And the good news is, as we just saw 2 weeks ago, today there are more companies looking for workers, more job openings than there are people looking for jobs. That's a real important sign, but it also shows us why it's important that we get this Farm Bill passed this week. And not only does the Farm Bill have real important continuation of laws for our nation's farmers so that we can continue to be the world's leading breadbasket for the world, but it also has reforms to our welfare system that say if somebody is looking for a job, they ought to be helped, and we're going to provide great career opportunities and great job training for them. But if there's a job opening right now and somebody is able to work, They shouldn't be able to sit on a broken welfare system. It's time for them to help be a part of this growing economy and get back in the workforce. So these work requirements that we have in the Farm Bill are as equally as important to getting this economy growing as the important farm policy. And then I want to thank President Trump for coming to our conference last night and being very clear, number one, that he wants to fix our broken immigration system. I don't think anybody's surprised about that. It was a pillar of his campaign. He said he wanted to build the wall. And the reasons he wanted to build the wall is so that we could get back to rule of law and securing our border like every other country does. Look, we're a nation that embraces immigrants. We let in over 1 million people a year legally today. By far the most generous nation on immigration policy in the world. But there are broken parts of our immigration laws. And so we worked to put together a bill. Initially, there was the Goodlatte-McCall bill, and the votes weren't there to pass that bill. Really good policy in that bill. But our objective is not just to have good policy in a bill, it's to pass a bill, and ultimately to get a bill on President Trump's desk that he will sign. And so we went back to work, working with some of the same people, as well as other members of our conference that have differing views on immigration, and we worked closely with President Trump to develop a new border security bill. Chairman Goodlatte and Chairman McCall are the leads on this as well, and it has some of those components. Frankly, if you look at the triggers to make sure that the wall is built, there's even more strong components in this second bill that ensure that the wall will be built, while then you take existing visas, this visa lottery system that everybody that looks at it agrees is bad legal policy. Today, under current law, 55,000 people a year come into our country where their names are literally plucked out of a hat. Let's move that to a merit-based system. And it allows us to solve the DACA problem without adding one new visa. Not one new person, not one additional person will come into our country legally. We still let in 1 million people, but we move away from this random system to a merit-based system by reforming parts of our broken immigration law. And then on this final point, and I think as the country has seen, as it's been highlighted in the last week, the problem that we have with current law relating to separation of children and their parents. This goes back to a 2008 law that Congress passed, plus court decisions like the Flores decision on top of it, that forced this policy. This is law, and we want to change the law. We don't think it's good law. In fact, President Trump agrees with us, and he's called on Congress to work to fix this law. And by the way, before this crisis was highlighted in the media, we had already started to fix it, and it was in our original draft of this bill. So this bill not only addresses our immigration system, but it ensures that we reunite families, so parents and kids come back together. So look forward to getting that bill moved through, and also look forward to our members of Congress, Republican and Democrat, our female members of Congress, beating the press tonight in this charity game of softball. Yeah, we're going to beat the press.
You so jinxed them. Yeah.
Big news. Bring it.
Well, good morning. This is a big week in Congress. We will tackle many issues, from combating opioids, more than 70 different bills debated, Farm Bill, and of course, exactly what we talked about with the President last night, our broken immigration system. I say ours because it's not a Republican or Democrat problem. It's an American problem. Something that this Congress has talked about for quite some time. As the Speaker was clear, I want to be very clear. We do not support the separation of children and the families being broken apart. That's why we worked on this bill. This bill doesn't just solve that problem, but it solves border security. It goes through in every issue we've talked about when it comes to immigration. This is a bill that is consensus. It's a bill that the President supports. It's a bill that can become law. We're going to have an opportunity to vote on it tomorrow night. The question will be, do people want to play politics, or do they want to put people before politics? Do they want to solve an issue that we've all talked about for quite some time? This is an issue that needs to be solved for decades going forward for America to maintain their strength. Also, when you look as we move forward, opioids. 174 people will die today because of addiction. Those will be families, those will be friends, those will be loved ones. That same number will happen tomorrow as well. This is breaking the fiber of our country. We have moved a number of bills, and I believe these can become law as well. Farm Bill, we know the importance, not just to having a secure agriculture for our food and our safety, but also putting more people into the workforce. Friday is a big day. There was a reason why, when Kevin Brady worked on this bill, the way it was titled. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And for too long, people don't go back and see, did the title actually match what the bill was supposed to achieve? I think it was titled just correctly. Americans have seen that they kept more of their paycheck. They go and look at it, they're bringing more home. And for the first time in a long time, their raise is actually moving up of what they're getting paid. The first time in history, there are more job openings than are those people who are looking for it. But one of the statistics that is most telling, look at the last 49 years in this country. In the last 49 years in America, unemployment has only been below 4%, 7 months out of 49 years. And 2 of those 7 months were April and May of this year. So in less than 6 months, this bill is working. The 1 millionth job has now been created. So the Jobs Act and the tax cut is proven to be correct. But there is more to do. If you look at small business, the greatest creator of new jobs, for the whole history they've taken their poll, is it a good time to expand? It's the highest level it's ever been since they've taken the poll. And think about how we feel as a nation. Gallup recently came out. The right track is at its highest points it's been in 12 years. Can we use that as a catalyst to make sure we solve immigration as well? Or will one party sit to the sidelines, complain like they've complained for decades, and not step up and solve the problem? That's the question that will be answered tomorrow night.
Questions? Baseball players, as a consolation
That's right.
tonight.
That's a concept.
So hard not to take a dig at your team, but I'll try it.
You just did.
Can you talk about, obviously we're awaiting the results of this immigration package in the House, see what happens then. But in the meantime, can you talk about this issue emotionally, your own response? And should this White House have and put the policy on pause as Congress works this out? Should it put a pause for, say, small children, like under 2 years old?
Yeah. Look, let's just make it clear. We don't think families should be separated, period. Look, we've seen the videos, heard the audio. And when we were working on this bill for the last number of months, we saw that this court ruling was wrong, and we had put this fix in the bill to begin with. So let's look at what's going on. This court ruling goes back to, I think, 2008. And the law should not have our government choose between enforcing our borders, enforcing our laws, securing our borders, and keeping families together. That's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous choice. Tomorrow, we're going to have a vote on legislation that makes sure that we can enforce our laws and keep families together. And it's about custody. It's DOJ versus DHS. I know a lot of you cover this issue. You know that. We're saying just stick with DHS. And oh, by the way, we're going to finance facilities for families to make sure that they can be taken care of. So we don't have to have this ridiculous choice between enforcing our borders and enforcing the law and keeping families together. We think it's a false choice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 2 questions. One, if the bill is unable to pass tomorrow night, what is Plan B?
Well,
and also, will you...
Everybody asks that. Yeah, this bill is Plan B, by the way, for us to begin with. So right now, we're focused on this legislation. By the way, it solves DACA in a very elegant way, I think. It's a very good solution for DACA. So right now, we're focused on getting this bill passed. The president came to our conference yesterday and asked members to support this bill. That is our focus. If other things happen, we'll cross those bridges when we get to it.
And
you had a second.
Have you asked the president to put a pause on this policy?
He asked us to pass this legislation, which stops this policy for good. Yeah.
Speaker Ryan, so your legislation allocates or appropriates $7 billion for new family detention centers, but that's going to take time to build. So what happens until those are built? And that's kind of a follow-up to that question. Has the president guaranteed that if this bill passes that he would put a pause on that until you can get your legislation implemented?
I will refer you to Kirsten Nielsen, the secretary. She's talked to us about interim measures, but the court case is the key thing for us. You've got to change the law so that we can make sure that custody stays with DHS. We think that's important. That's why we're voting on this tomorrow.
Last question.
Nancy.
Mr. Speaker, questions. First of all, would you entertain a narrow emergency bill that would unite these families?
Just like I said, we're trying to pass this legislation right now. This is very good compromise legislation. Not only solves the child separation issue at the border, It also solves the border. It solves DACA. It solves a lot of our broken immigration parts. So right now, we're focused on passing this legislation that's coming to the floor tomorrow. And then when other situations arise, whatever the circumstances are, we'll cross those bridges when we get to it.
But are you worried that it'll send a message that you're using these kids as leverage if you say, you
That's
wanna reunite
ridiculous.
these families, you've got to vote for
No,
a
that's
broader
a ridiculous
immigration
assertion. I said this last week at my press conference. We don't think people should be separated at the border, families should be. But we should also not make the government have to choose between whether to support the law, secure the border, and keep families intact. They ought to do all of those things. That's why we're having a vote on this tomorrow. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, you could have a vote on a narrow fix today if you wanted to.